Hey, I'm Levis and I am psyched up that you are watching this video right now because this could transform your church. If you're not familiar with bots, this is it. You're going to learn so much. You're going to learn how this could revolutionize how you communicate with those nearest to you and dearest to you in your ministry. Don't fret if you don't know anything about it, or if you feel you know a little bit, but this is going to be overwhelming. Don't worry. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to make it simple. You know, as ministries, we often play catch up with what's happening in the world of technology, and I intend for you to be in the forefront and to show other churches around you and maybe even take hands with them about how you can deploy something that's freely available that will cost you, a fraction of what it typically costs to communicate with those, like I said, nearest and dearest to you. So hang on and let's get into this. Here we go. In this course, we're going to talk about introduction to Messenger bots in this video here, and we're going to do a course overview. So, a little bit about myself. I have been involved in ministry since 1992 in volunteer, part-time and full-time staff positions, and I have served in churches and ministries of various sizes and different denominations and cultures in South Africa, where I'm originally from, if you haven't placed the accent, and since 2002 here in the United States in 5 different states. In all my years in ministry, the biggest challenge any ministry faces, I believe, that I've seen is communication. Communication between staff members, between staff and volunteers, with the congregation, and with the community. If you're a staff person right now watching, just think about it. How hard is it sometimes to talk to each other and to keep communication lines open, actually know which communication line was open on what platform? I served in a church where a message would come through in a text message, and the next moment it would be continued in a Facebook personal message, and then it was in a group, and then it was an email, and I could just never remember, man, where, I know we talked about it, what was the information, because of how just all over the place it was. And that's not the fault of the pastor. That's just because sometimes we are not aware of better ways to do things. Let's think about, communicate with our volunteers. Those people are willing to give up their time to come alongside you in your ministry and help you out and serve. How do you communicate with them? Let's talk about the larger congregation. I'm not talking about preaching or teaching. I'm talking about communicate the heartbeat of who you are to those in the congregation, whether they've been there for many years or maybe they're new, maybe even first or second time guests showing up. How can you effectively, beyond just that hour on a Sunday or an hour and a half on a Sunday, communicate who you are with them? And then how do you get people even into your church? Those are people in the community where your church are planted. How can they know who you are, what you believe, what it means to be part of this community of believers, and how their lives can be transformed by joining you in worship to God? So we're going to cover all this. We're going to cover it all, trust me. All right, so there are a few ways that we can communicate to people. We can have a website, and it's great, and you should, every church does need a website, and every church should have one. But let me tell you, it can be a messy journey with information overload that more often than not discourages rather than encourages engagement. Think about it. I've seen some hokey websites, but I've seen some amazing looking websites. But the bottom line is, when I go on there, I want to find out something very specific. I need to start clicking on links or buttons that's going to drop down menus, and then I got to search and just to find out what time is youth night. Is there youth night? For instance, that's just an example quickly. All right, next thing we can use is we can deploy apps, and apps are great, and that's mobile. But let me tell you, people are getting tired of having to download yet another app, and even if they do, they soon forget they have it and rarely interact with it. Just take your phone for a moment, or take your iPad if you're an iPad, and just scroll through the amount of apps that's sitting there. How many of them do you interact with on a regular basis? In fact, I have an app for my church that is on my phone, and you know what? I only look at the app when I'm in the church and they mention it that, hey, here we have an app that you can give through. And I'm like, oh yeah, let me go see what's happening in the app. But that app doesn't really communicate effectively with me. And the other thing is, once I start an interaction on the app, it's hard for me to maybe pick up that interaction later on on my laptop if I'm sitting and working and I quickly want to find out the same thing, because it's a lot of times apps and websites don't shake hands very well. And then we use emails, and they are so yesterday, but we still really rely heavily on them. And listen, emails are not all bad. It's probably one of the still a bedrock foundation for communication with people and large groups of people. But here's the problem. Only about 20% of people receiving your email will actually open it. And of those, only a fraction will engage with your call to action. In the next video, I'm actually going to share an example of a bot for a church with some amazing stats. And if you're listening to this and you hear bot, don't worry about it. I am going to tell you exactly what it is. So don't fret too much. Just hang on to your hat. Here we go. So the drawback of the above methods of communication is this. It's hard to get to know the person interacting with you, and near impossible to tailor their experience to their individual needs. Enter bots. All right, let me break that down for just a second. If you and I am chatting and you ask me about bots, I can give you an answer, you can ask a question, I give you an answer, you can ask a question. Or you can go on a website and you gotta figure out what is a bot. You get a Google search and watch a ton of videos. All right, so, but if you've asked me a question, I can tailor my answer to the question that you've asked. So in the next few videos, we'll cover an array of topics and how bots can help you get to know the people you're talking to, and just give them an opportunity to get to know you better. Here are some of the videos we're going to cover. In the first video, we'll talk about what is a bot and why should your church have one. We're going to talk about bots and funnels, the purpose and goals of a funnel, and how a bot can assist. We're going to talk about creating a communication blueprint for your ministry. We're going to talk about conversational bots. We're going to talk about creating a bot character and personality. We're going to talk about other must-have and free, and we all love free stuff, don't we? Free tools to use with bots and in your ministry. And listen, again, if you're on staff, you're a volunteer watching this, we have some influence with the staff, skip through this video at some point in time and watch it, because these tools can really streamline communication. This is one of my videos I'm very excited about. All right, video 7 will be ManyChat as a platform, ManyChat basics overview. ManyChat is just a platform that we can build bots on to work inside of Facebook Messenger. And we're going to talk in video 8 about audience segmentation using tags and customer user fields to get to know what your people like and dislike when they talk to you, how they react to certain things that you say, and based on their reactions and their responses, you can tailor the conversation 100% to them and build rapport with them by having just an amazing conversation with them that fulfill their needs. Second to last video will be conversation topics and or channels. Super excited about this one as well, because bots and what a bot can do is limited only by your imagination. It might take a little bit more skill and in instances a little bit of extra money to develop some things within a bot, but man, if you want to communicate effectively prayer requests, receiving and sharing prayer requests with your prayer warriors, a bot can do that. Giving, a bot can do that. Communicating with a new ministry that's going to start up and where they're going to meet and what it's about, bots can do that. Communicating to children's parents about midweek connection, bots can do that. These are just a few. I want to talk about a lot more. If you have a bus ministry, hang on, because you definitely want to hear how you can automatically create a route for your bus driver. All right, and our last video will be next steps, what you can do with all this information. So hang on tight and enjoy the journey discovering the basics of chatbots for churches. All right, so next up, our next video, what is a bot and why should your church have one? See you in the next video.